Thank you, everybody, and welcome back to the Tuesday, September 9th, regular meeting of council. We've got the mood lighting right. Sorry.
Where's that going?
So we would like to acknowledge that the land on which we gather is the traditional territory of the Ktunaxa, the Silks, and the Snakes people, and is home to the Métis and many diverse Aboriginal persons. We honor their connection to the land and rivers and respect the importance of the environment to our strength as a community. I do have the introduction of one late item, and that's to add accounts payable, which you will have all received by email to 11A on the agenda under reports. That's the accounts payable for this period. So I don't believe there's any other late items or changes, so if I could have an adoption of the agenda as amended, moved by Councillor Woodward, seconded by Councillor Lockenberg. All those in favor, and that's carried. Item number 5, the adoption of the regular minutes of the July 8th and August 19th. Anybody see any errors or omissions? Moved by Councillor Woodward, seconded by...
Sorry, errors or omissions, you asked.
Okay.
I'm going for that one first.
Should we just move it second and then?
Yeah, we can move in second, and then Kate, Councillor Woodward, Councillor Page, and Councillor Payne.
So number 2025/1548, the land-based lease. It mentioned Councillor Woodward moving, and it mentioned it was seconded by Councillor Page. That was not correct. It was seconded by myself, Councillor Payne.
Okay.
What meeting was that, Councillor?
Oh, sorry,
July 11th?
is it September 9th?
July 8th or the August 19th?
That's today. Hold on, I wrote it in. Well, the one where we did the land-based lease. That
Land-based
was the
lease?
first, it
Oh.
was the July, sorry, yeah,
Okay.
got it here.
Um,
And I am aware that you can second a motion and then vote against it, but I thought
Sure.
it would be rare to do that.
No, that's not rare. Sometimes
not
people
rare.
put stuff on the floor to have a debate and
Okay,
That
it
was
goes
the-
down in flames.
That was the second motion, Councillor Payne? Under the land lease?
well, the one that was moved by Councillor Woodward and it says seconded by
Councillor Tate?
No,
Councillor Page.
and that's 818 and 824.
818 to 824.
Oh, right here. Yep, you got it.
The land
Okay.
lease.
Thank you.
I went back and looked at the video, I can tell you the time on the video if you wanna
No, I
verify.
got it.
Okay, any other errors or omissions? Seeing none, all those in favor? And that carries, thank you. City manager, is there anything you have to?
No, I've been away just to let people know. I think we have a new bylaw manager that should start in the beginning of October. So I think they're just finalizing the contract, but the person's verbally accepted at this stage. So that's good news, and we have the capital project manager out for Chris Johnson identified that we seem to have a number of good candidates so far for that, so that's positive. We're interviewing for the deputy chief this next week, I believe.
Of
So-
fire.
Of fire.
Deputy chief of fire.
Yes. Yeah, to be clear on that, so yeah, so that's positive as well. So.
Okay, council reports, or council questions, Councillor Payne.
In the meetings from July, I was talking about the leasing policy for the civic center because it was sort of a hot property. If we made any progress on that or to start looking for options?
The civic center,
The civic center,
dance umbrella space, yeah.
it said civic center, but okay, yeah.
Yeah, so, I think there's a draft, we're meeting next little while to talk about it. We'll bring that back. I think really what we're looking at is trying to develop a scoring matrix that recognizes, I think we wanna look at, how do we best utilize those facilities, how they're available broadly, those type of values is sort of what we've, I think, heard from council and so that's what we're gonna try to incorporate into that, I think ultimately we need to sort of have some discussion around, are these 5 years and, and do they come back up and do we put them back out to community so we can get others, so I think those are bigger discussions. We've just seemed to have rolled these over for decades with the same tenants, which has some value, but anyway, I just brought up all that sort of discussion, so don't think we're gonna solve all that at this stage, but at least setting criteria around what kind of tenants we're looking for in those, and so that's where we're at. So.
Just, I didn't see it in I'm very excited that the transit exchange is functioning, operational. Benches, whatever the lean-to things are called, there must be an official name
Stand-up
for them.
benches.
What?
Stand-up benches, apparently.
Okay, that's not an English thing. We just need to, no, we just need to not make up words. Let's give it another name.
Stand-up chair.
Oh, we have stand-up.
I'm sure there's a name, I will find out what it is. Do we have any idea? There will be a grand opening, I'm presuming, we just don't have a date yet.
Yeah, I think we have a meeting with those guys, tomorrow?
Yeah,
We'll try and,
this week.
Oh, that was the meeting, okay.
Well, we have
yeah,
a meeting.
internally, just
Okay.
and we'll see,
I
cause
just saw
BC
something
Transit
on
will
the
would
area
wanna be
newsletter saying there was a meeting.
steering that one, so.
Okay, just curious, cause, I'm excited to be there, other than regular. And then the third thing that I'm just interested in, I don't know if this is the right place, but around water restrictions. I think it's interesting that you can fill your pool on level 2 water restrictions. I don't think there's a lot of people in Nelson that have pools, and I did look at the water restriction lists of some other communities. In light of the changing environment we find ourselves in, is that something that we should be reviewing, or is that information just passed to us from some legislative framework?
I would say it's probably built off somebody else's policy way back when. We can look at that. That's probably a legacy thing.
Cause the concept of watering lawns these days, I feel is also somewhat, I don't know what the word would be for that, but it may be from a time past that we can water lawns when we get to past regular.
Yeah, and I think there's a balance there. We don't wanna dry everything out in our community, that we are more prone to wildfire or starting fires, so.
Yeah.
So I think all those, let's
But
try
yeah, I
to
think
find
those are
balances
things we can
between-
look at. We certainly wanna maintain the health of our trees and our vegetable gardens and the ability to have water for hosing fires and all of those things, but there are certain things that, there's other ways to go. We know xeriscaping and different water, better utilization of water ground covers that we could use, and I think we're noticing that we're moving into an environment where that's gonna be really important for us.
Yeah,
So I think it's worth examining, is all I'm trying to say. I don't know when those things come around for review, if they do, but
Yeah, I don't know if that came up through Nelson Next or OCP or any of that, any discussion around what landscaping and things through the OCP process.
I don't see anything on xeriscaping in OCP.
Not on the OCP, but as part of the zoning bylaw review, we are gonna be looking at the landscaping.
Yeah, so I think those things will be updated in light of the environment we find ourselves in. Yeah, okay, I just wanted to mention it because water, it's important.
Well, I think, as we saw how quickly things can change, we had a smoke-free summer pretty well, and a lot of fires across the province, and one weekend it changed dramatically with one storm, right?
Any other further questions for the city manager?
I do.
Yeah.
But it might be for GM.
Well,
So does GM have a report as well?
GM, do you wanna give a report if you've got one, and then otherwise take a question?
I'm happy to take a question. I usually try to provide a bit of an operations update at this point, from an operations perspective. Very much sort of, you know, the big thrust of effort, it happens sort of spring, early summer. We had the crews available to finish that work off, kept them on to maintain for, you know, sort of the last couple of big weekends in Nelson here with Pride and the car show, and you know, now looking to, you know, as my the director of municipal operations said, he's already in winter in his mind, so you know, getting all of that prep done, ready to go. So from crew's perspective, see a lot of that. There's some of the small things that, you know, we weren't able to get to in the summer that we're working on now, painting railings, doing stuff like that. Seen a lot of work around town in general with painting of the hydrants, you know, generally just getting around to some of those odd jobs that it's you know, you try to get to. A couple of years ago, we redid all the benches downtown, that type of thing, right? So yeah, just in summation, transition season, looking at that now. Happy to answer any questions.
Sure, thanks, through the chair. Any update on what's happening with regards to the Anderson Creek dry out incident? And I'm actually really interested just from a policy perspective, what kind of investigations come forward, or how do the provincial and federal regulations impact what happens next for us?
Yeah, so you know, staff are working through all of that right now. It's, you know, first time we've done this type of thing has happened. So you know, what I can say is that, you know, when it occurred, staff did contact we contacted our biologist, who recommended the best course of action was to contact the RAP line, and that would go to the provincial authorities, who then are the ones that move it up to the federal level if required. So they navigate that process. So we were in touch with, you know, we reported to the RAP line, talked to the conservation service, or left messages there. You know, it was during a long weekend there, so a bit challenging. But so once it was reported, understanding that there would be follow-up from that, and you know, we're still waiting for some of that. We also wanted to understand, because it was an odd thing that happened, right? Mm-hmm. So I guess a summation would be that, you know, we had the repair, as you read in the paper and in the emails that we sent out. When we pulled from Anderson Creek, there was still water, a good amount of water flowing downstream Anderson. And even at 9th Street, there was still water flowing, and then somewhere there, it just went subsurface. And went dry for a few blocks, and then downstream of that, the water showed up again. So,
Really in the middle?
Yeah, it was in the middle. Yeah, so you know, it was maintained lower down. That's what I know that, you know, I saw the night that I heard about this and went out and had a look. We had a biologist walk up the stream bed, doing an assessment for us on what happened, and her findings were consistent with what we had observed. We currently, you know, one of the big surprises to us is that we had fish higher up in the reaches there, and so we have, or biologist on our behalf has an application in to do a fish survey in there, so we get a better understanding. So we'll be pursuing that. So we really want to try and understand, you know, why did the water go subsurface? Is that an issue? Did it go subsurface? You know, are there outtakes along there that may or may not be licensed from, you know, there's a lot of homes through there. Could that have been part of the challenge? So these are all the things that we're trying to work through now. I mean, the ultimate goal is, first and foremost, for this not to happen again. And to do that, you really need to understand what happened. So we're pursuing that now. And so that we can, I mean, you know, it's just gonna happen that we're going to have to do repairs again, and repairs are done during low water. So, you know, that's can be challenging, and we just want to, learn as much as we can about the system so that we can do better. You know, we were quite surprised by the outcome this time around.
Thank you.
Any further questions for either the GM or the CAO? Okay. Mr. Jury, did you have anything?
We're gearing up for full budget process now. Nelson Hydro's first in line, of course, and they've got their open house, I think, I should have the date here.
23rd.
23rd, thank you. So we're kind of working through that process, but also water, wastewater, and resource recoverability next. I think some calendar pieces have gone out for you folks as well, so check your calendars and hopefully those dates work for you.
Councillor Payne.
I sent it to CFO Jury this afternoon, but Cranbrook has just, well, they released it on September 2nd, their budget survey. And I just think it's a really interesting tool for us to consider to get public input prior to the budget, to have a better gauge of what people are willing to, I guess, which services are the most important, what they're willing to pay for those services, helping them understand large capital expenditures that are coming forward. So I'd like to see that at some point in time, that we can do something, even if it's just a simple, 5-question starter. And I think it would be a great educational piece for citizens residents to understand where we are spending our money and why these increases are coming along. I was mentioning that we just sat down and did our household budget update with we pay our taxes monthly and our hydro monthly, and all of these amounts are going up, and it's beyond the cost of living. So I think the more we have people with a good understanding and feeling that they have some choices and input on where that process is going, the easier it's going to be to move forward. So something I suggest that we incorporate at some point in the future.
Yeah. No, thank you for sending that my way. I think I'd seen that one last year as well.
Yeah,
that
I sent
Cranbrook
it last
does,
year
and
too.
it's, yeah, an engagement tool that they put out. It's really sort of like a pulse check on how folks are feeling about different services that they receive. We did have a meeting and talked about that internally, maybe, I don't know, a month ago. Just timing wise, I think September probably works. You wanna do it early enough that, you don't wanna do it before property taxes, cause then people get a bit confused. Are you talking about this year or next year? So I think sort of late summer, September works. We were concerned this year with with the OCP engagement, the liquid waste management plan, with all these things that were really hitting the public heavy this year, to add another new one to them, and have our comms team try and handle that around all the other communications that are going out there, that maybe it's something we work towards doing for 2026 when it's not such a heavy year. But I do like the concept, and we'll definitely look at it a little further.
Yeah.
Okay, any further questions for staff? Councillors, any reports? Councillor Page, then Councillor Payne.
We'll have more of a report next time when we're done, board, but I will note that at this morning's Park Commission, the commission has agreed to increase an allocation, or to allocate the surplus that it set aside for municipal services in the tune of $41,000. Roughly about 500 of that to go to Salmo, and the remainder to come to Nelson, to adjust for the inflationary increase on operating costs within our park service that are regional parks. So that'll go to board for next Thursday, and it'll be for the 2025 year. And then the expectation is then on November 10th that any additional budgetary asks that come from the city or from Salmo will come forward there for consideration for 2026.
Great, anything else?
Nope.
So you wanna have from the city, if we've got an ask in front of the November 10th Parks meeting?
Yeah, so that would be the expectations, that November 10th we'll receive any additional asks for the 2026 budget at that meeting. Staff will certainly be in touch, I'm sure.
Thank you. Councillor Payne.
August 22nd was an amazing, and I'm still thinking of it in my head as Market Fest. even though it's morphed to night market, because it just seems like a festival with everybody in the street. The street was packed, the weather was perfect, the entertainment, the energy, the food, wow, hit it out of the park. So thank you to staff, participants, vendors, entertainers, really an amazing event that showcased our community to tourists and residents alike, of how you can have so much fun in such a collaborative, connected way. I had a good time. Just going right along, and then we moved the next weekend into Pride Week. So on the 25th, the Monday, was the flag raising for Pride, right out in front here. Always a beautiful event as that flag goes up. And then that week, I'll say culminated, although I think there were one or two events afterwards, with the parade on the Sunday, the 31st. I believe that was, Sunday was the 31st. Started as usual at Wildflower School and looped around a few places before it stopped at Falls Street, and then people made their way over to Cottonwood, where the lively festivities just continued well into the evening with a lot of enthusiasm. It was a beautiful event, and there were many more volunteers than I had ever experienced as a parade marshal, in lieu of having a police presence. And I think it worked out really well with what they were calling us, instead of parade marshals, the peace force. So we managed to get everybody where they needed to go. It was a lot of fun. And I assume the mayor's gonna talk about her participation in that. In between those two events, August 28th marks the International Overdose Awareness Day, and an event was held down at Lakeside Park. There were 75 people in attendance, 13 people with lived experience, 12 partner organizations came in and either tabled or presented, and 25 naloxone kits were given out at that event. Well attended, grows every year, and very important to mark that occasion. I'm sure everybody saw the article in the newspaper. Similar events were held in Castlegar Trail and Grand Forks. So it's it's something that's supported right throughout the region. On Saturday night, I went to the Hume for a packed house when they showed the movie Trouble in the Headwaters. So the West Kootenay Watershed Collaborative brought that film in with a panel to talk about it, and it was just a short documentary, about 30 minutes, on the Grand Forks flooding, and how now there's just more concrete information that the deforestation in certain areas had contributed to that, and what the consequences of that are. Dr. Yunus Alila spoke there, and he also did a separate session the following day on the research that he's been doing for 20 years about, it's not just forestry, it's where the clear cuts are and how it's tied to geography. It was pretty fascinating. I can't say that I completely understand it, but I was glad that I got there to know that he's doing that work, and somebody out there is following along as we work towards balancing the needs of forestry and our watersheds in British Columbia. And then the next fun event I had was I took my grandson for the first time to the running of the Redfish, which has always been an annual event for our family, because I just don't know anywhere that there's anything like that. And they start out relatively relaxed. For the day we went, there were lots of school groups there, talking to Joanne Sedaris, who always is an amazing source of information, and the other rangers showing us what those redfish are doing, why they're there, and there's the obligatory closing off of one pathway because the bear is feeding over there this morning. So that was what was happening in Nelson for me this week. And tomorrow I am headed off with a number of individuals to the Active Transportation Conference in Kimberley, which is the first time that event has been held outside of the Lower Mainland. And to encourage participants from our area to go, the Columbia Basin Trust funded up to 75% of your registration fee. So it's really an amazing opportunity for us to have that caliber of program here in what we know is a great location. So I'm looking forward to that. We'll tell you all about it next time.
Councillors, anybody else have anything? Councillor Lockwood.
Just one thing, I wanna thank Minister Anderson, Brittany Anderson, for once again leveraging her position in cabinet to attract MLAs and ministers to the region, to show them around and really give us a chance. I think many of us in council had a chance to meet with these ministers and MLAs and advocate for Nelson and regional priorities. One in particular, George Anderson, who's the MLA and the Parliamentary Secretary for Transit, was here, and we got a chance to spend about an hour and a half with him touring around our new transit exchange, really talking about the West Kootenay transit system and how it's different from an urban system. And it was great because he spoke back to me the arguments we were making and said that he would take them on to the minister and to cabinet. And so I think we continue to work hard to build a more robust regional transit system.
Did you ride the bus?
Is that?
Did you ride the bus?
No, we walked.
Okay.
He just walked. Yeah, it was active. It was active.
No, and it was great. It was great to meet MLA Anderson, George, that is, the George Anderson, like all these, too many names are the same that, and it was great that he was able to spend some time in town and was able to see the new transit, and he thought it was beautiful. I mean, we had a nice chat about that. And then I think MLA Morissette was here, who's the Minister of State for Rural Affairs, and then we had Bowen Ma, the Minister of Infrastructure. And on that note, I did attend, as Minister Ma was here, to open the new Fairview Gardens and the Nelson Health Campus last week. So I did attend that, as did the city manager. And I've been assured that there will be open house and opportunity for residents of Nelson to attend, as there were none at this official opening, which was a bit disappointing. But so the grand opening has happened, and like I say, been assured within the next 2 to 3 weeks, there will be opportunity for Nelson residents, many of whom are old employees of Mount St. Francis and long-standing Nelson families who've had loved ones live and pass away at the old mount. That there's a lot of meaning to that land up there for our community. So I do encourage people to watch for that. I will be definitely keeping an eye out for that opportunity in the future. It is an absolutely beautiful facility. It's going to be a facility that hopefully will serve our community for quite a number of years going forward. So, and as Councillor Payne mentioned, I think I was at everything that Councillor Payne's been at, except for the Hume Hotel, because I can't stay up that late. Pride was great. I want to thank Councillors Page and Tate and Woodward, who have always come along to help hand out the candy from we took the little EV Max.
Yes.
It was way cooler to decorate.
Yeah.
For the parade, and I want to thank Councillor Tate for bringing her 3 young children along, who were really the best candy givers out there. I'm not too sure about the adults. They were okay. They were chatting, but the young ones, they were very good at getting the candy out. So it was a very lovely time, and I was of course at the International Overdose Awareness Day in the park, and it's always a solemn time, but it's a time for people to get together and know that the community stands with them in their grief, and that we continue to work forward to make Nelson a better place for everyone. So and last week I was in Vancouver at a very interesting conference called, and I'm just going to read it to you because it's really long, Countering Online Harms in British Columbia, the Role of Municipalities in Preventing and Responding to online threats to social cohesion. It's a very interesting couple of days, and I will do a more fulsome report. And I've now, this is a 2-year project going forward, so there is some ask for further engagement from participants and from some municipalities. So I will bring it up with staff as to whether or not we want to engage any further, but it was, I have to say, a very eye-opening experience for someone who doesn't use social media and doesn't have children or grandchildren. It's quite amazing what evil lurks out there, for lack of a better way to put it. So anyways, that was that was a trip I wasn't gonna go, and then I thought, you know what, I need to challenge myself in terms of not having experience in this area, and it was definitely a worthwhile endeavor, so. And moving on then, we are at the bylaw part. So here we are, the official community plan, item 9A. So following a 2-year update and engagement process, staff have prepared official community plan bylaw number 3629/2025 to replace the current official community plan. Council passed first and second reading of the bylaw on August 19th and directed staff to hold a public meeting on September 9th. Several minor modifications proposed by council at the August 18th meeting have since been made to the proposed bylaw, and the public hearing has occurred, and council is now being asked to pass third reading and adoption of the official community plan bylaw. So we have, again, in our packages, a lot of information. We've got copies, I think everybody's got their own copy of the OCP. And we also have staff in the room to answer any questions. So at this point, I'll either look at an opportunity if someone would like to move one of the resolutions, or if you have questions for staff before we move any resolutions. Councilor Page.
Get started, question for staff, through the chair. If we were to contemplate the striking of 4.9, Granite Point neighborhood golf items that have been incorporated into this OCP, could we strike that and send that back to be redeveloped for the local neighborhood plan itself? Or what consequences would that create?
For sure, and I think the recommendation to council would be to approve the OCP as it stands and then pass a separate motion for staff to investigate the legal aspects of that. Because it's not just a matter of removing it, it's also thinking about what it needs to be replaced by. Because from the legal standpoint, we have to have a land use designation for that property and policies that apply to that property. So we need some time to think about that. And on the legal aspect,
Can I just stop you for a second?
Sure.
Okay, because of the technical issues, because we're gonna start hearing from people who are probably trying to stream the regular meeting, because of the technical errors, we left it set up for it to stream under the public hearing. So if you're on the city webpage, you need to go to public hearing, not to the regular meeting, to see this meeting being held.
But you won't hear.
Yeah, we can't
Yeah.
hear that, so how do we
Yeah.
communicate?
Challenge, I mean, we could try
So-
and switch over, so the way that it presents on the screen is that you have your choice of the two different things, so hopefully people will try the public hearing, thinking that it's the one isn't working, to try the other. The other option would be for us to stop streaming here, try and stream on the other one with the possibility of it not streaming anywhere. The plan that IT has is to stitch the two together. Because it's not interactive, I guess, IT will stitch the videos together and make it sort of all work tomorrow morning when they're in. So people will be able to watch it, because it is being recorded. It's just they won't be able to watch it live.
Can we post on Facebook, et cetera?
As long as the YouTube lands where it needs to land, makes sense to me, right? Like the YouTube
It'll be there
segments
tomorrow.
will be there tomorrow in the
Yes.
right way and
Yes.
reviewable. Like,
So it's all
not
being recorded
interactive,
right
it's-
now and we aren't gonna mess with it because it's working.
Yeah, I get that.
And it's being recorded and it'll be available tomorrow under the appropriate link. Currently, it's being recorded, it's being streamed under the public hearing link as opposed to the regular meeting link.
And there's no way for us to communicate that to the public.
We can do it on Facebook.
I was gonna say, I personally would be very frustrated if I'd come to this meeting and then I was said I could go home and stream it, and then I got home and could not access it. Especially in light of what we heard of so many people feeling,
Okay.
concerns.
I just wanna say that if you were to go to the City of Nelson's YouTube in general, like it's the most prominent thing happening because it's active and it's happening.
Right. It's just,
Right, like it's not, it just says public hearing and it's live, we're still live.
So streaming, I'm just gonna Google streaming City of Nelson Council, right?
I think this is just one of those things where we can see how, the advent of technology where this would have never occurred years ago. That now we have all this technology and sometimes it's a challenge.
Our communications coordinator is going to put that on Facebook.
And yeah, as well, so I did just Google stream Nelson City Council meeting. And the second option was YouTube. And so the first option is Mayor and Council, Nelson PC section. Second option is City of Nelson YouTube. You click on that and then it goes immediately, it says the one that's live, which is this one.
So it's there. For some it'll be frustrating.
Understood.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Yes.
We were meant to answer, weren't we?
Yeah. We haven't had
Just
anything yet,
asking
Kevin,
questions.
because I just stopped because we had a question, so I was taking questions first, so.
So now we're back.
So, Ken,
Granite Point, yes, okay. So to Councillor Page's question, staff's recommendation would be to approve the OCP as it stands. And then if they so desire, to pass a separate motion for us to investigate the legal and administrative consequences of changing that section. So and as I was mentioning before, it's not just a matter of removing a section, we also have to think about what is it gonna be replaced by. And because it's such a huge section, not just section 4.9, but it's also referenced in the land use chart as well, we'd wanna have a look and see what the potential consequences are, particularly in light of the fact that it's not a section that has changed. It's something that an applicant did apply for and did get approval from a council on. So we need to think about, is there a statute of limitations on when we can make changes after an application has been approved by council. So we don't know that at the moment because there's been so many changes from the province when it comes to land use and development. We just would want some time to have a look at that. So that's why we're sort of recommending that you move forward with the OCP as it stands, and if you so desire, pass a separate motion for us to look into this, and we can come back with a report.
supplemental Councillor Page.
A supplemental worry, and we'll see how we can address it, is when we start with something restrictive and we get more expansive as we've gone in this direction versus now we're in an expansive state and we're hearing from a big, presence within the community itself that would like us to revert back to something more simplistic, but certainly would like to have a more, have another engagement around the planning, is how do we guard against the situation where we're in this expansive state, where we're in this contemplative, what could we, what shouldn't we, should we reopen? Like, I'm worried about adopting this further without that opportunity to go to community and does this actually, will this neighborhood plan come out quite different? And have something go through in the interim, like how long will we be sitting in an example of evaluation?
I just, this developer does not have zoning to do anything, so there's no urgency to, there's no development application. The person does not have zoning to do other than the first units, which have already been approved, so those can't be reversed.
Yeah.
So, I guess that's the main point. There's no way for that developer to move forward with some of these plans they have, and when you read the OCP, some of the visions this developer have don't fit with the OCP. It talks about seniors housing and affordable housing and residential, and that commercial zone it's for the Rosemont neighborhood, has to fit with the downtown. There's a lot of policy in the current 4.9 that are way against what this developer thinks or has a vision for it, so even the OCP doesn't support what they have, let alone the land's not rezoned, so there's no fear that someone can go ahead with a development that there's a whole bunch of process even under the current OCP, so there's time to to look at this if that's the desire of council. There's no risk of some large development that this particular developer has communicated out there. It doesn't fit right now, and he has no zoning, so there's no risk at this time, and there's time to do this properly.
Okay, great, thank you.
I'm just gonna have Natalie talk to maybe finish off this thought, because she has her hand up, and then I'm coming to Councillor Pinero.
I just wanted to point out, sorry, through the chair, that the current OCP has the exact policies in it. We just carried those over into the draft, so postponing the adoption of the OCP, it doesn't change anything. The same policies are in the 2013. So I don't know if that helps.
That helps.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Councillor Woodward. No, wait, no, sorry, Councillor Pinero, then Councillor Woodward, sorry.
I think almost answered that question for me. What I'm interested in is, I hear you, Kevin, in the sense that, the zoning isn't there yet, and this isn't a done deal, and there's lots of mechanisms by which it, has to stand up to the overall strategy and vision. What I'm worried about in this OCP and why I kind of want to get this dealt with first, if is that there's obviously some language in there that's vague enough that somebody like this developer can read it and think that they have a case for what they're doing. And that worries me, and I think maybe we need to adjust that language, because I think we're in a situation where, whether it's this particular development or a development that's coming, or, more in the future, I think this is gonna happen again. And it's clearly what I heard, today, but definitely not only today, is that the majority of people here don't want that. And so I think it's our responsibility to make it as foolproof as possible, and whatever it is now clearly didn't give that impression to the developer that's gone as far as they have with what they're doing. So I would like to see some way of making that a little bit more precise and a little bit more restrictive, so that we avoid these situations in the future. And I don't know, I imagine we're under some sort of deadline, but at the same time, working within those deadlines and trying to find a way to minimize that, the potentiality for these sorts of misunderstandings.
My experience is developers will interpret things.
I realize
their
that.
vision, and our staff say, no, that's not what it says, and we don't control that, but I'll let Kim speak to that.
And something that maybe Natalie and I missed previously as well, is we have to keep in mind the fact that we've sent this OCP out to many different external organizations, including First Nations. And they were presented a version of the plan that has the Granite Point section as it is. If we were to make changes after the fact, I think that could potentially be damaging to our relationships with those external organizations, simply because we presented something to them. It's then been changed without consulting with them. So I think that's why Natalie and I are recommending that if council does wish to have us look at that Granite Point section, that a separate motion is passed so that we can then consult with the Sinaiaks or the Yakanuki and Interior Health and the Regional District and so on and so forth, and say, what do you think? In some cases, they might say doesn't really matter to us. In other cases, they may have a great interest in it.
Councillor Woodward, and then Councillor Lockberg, then Councillor Payne.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. I feel like, what I'm seeing here, I have the OCP up. And what you're talking about, how it was in the last OCP. Really, I just feel like we need to communicate to the public about what we're talking about. And I don't know if it's an article that is written by the city for the paper, but just outlining this very clearly, that there are many places to pump brakes along the path here. And then it's not just what people fear, which I think there was definitely like a sense of like we're becoming Canmore or something like that, or this one development will throw us over that line into like a Whistler or something. But obviously there's a whole bunch of movements that have to happen before anything like that ever happens. So I just kind of feel like there needs to be some kind of level of communication to the public that around this issue, because obviously this is a hot button issue. People are very concerned, and I get it. Change is hard. Development in small towns is challenging, but I think it's almost like people, just locked into one piece of this entire OCP process and really focused on that. So maybe we just need to communicate a little more clearly from us to the community that this is actually what's happening. There are many places to say stop. It's a long road moving forward, so that's my suggestion. Better communication around this particular section. But we do need to move forward. I get that. We need to keep moving forward here. It's been 2.5 years.
Councillor Lockenberg, Payne, then go around.
I just feel like we've moved into debates, probably should move the.
Oh.
No.
It hasn't been.
Unless there's another question.
It's not on the table here.
Okay.
There's nothing on the table, so.
So I'll make
We're gonna move the first.
I'll make a motion to adopt the OCP with an amendment, actually. A small little tweak.
You're at third reading.
Yes. Yeah.
So
So
you
I'd
can
like
make
to
the change at third, yeah.
at third reading.
Yeah.
So I can make it. I'm good to make it. Okay. So I've emailed council with a slight change to 4.9, but I think you've got it too. So you know what I'm talking about, so if you get a second. I don't think I was emailed. So you emailed.
Can we move it perhaps as is and then debate an amendment, just for clarity?
That's probably a good idea.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'll move it and then make an amendment. Can I amend my own motion?
Okay, it's not been
Seems like
seconded,
an
so
extra step.
let's try this all over again. I'm feeling that people would like to, nobody has any questions, we seem to be debating things. And does somebody wanna move resolution number 1?
At this point.
That's just third reading.
I'll move,
Yeah.
I'll move.
Okay,
I need a second.
And I'll second.
okay.
That the official community, oh no, and then we can debate, sorry, my bad. Should I read it so we know
Yes.
what we're debating? Thank you. That the official community plan bylaw number 3629/2025 be introduced and read by first time by title only. Is that the right one?
We're at third time, I don't know where you're at,
I'm in
third
the
time,
wrong,
right?
I'm in old agenda, so
Okay.
sorry, it's my third time?
Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay, so that's there. Councillor Lochtimer.
I would like to propose an amendment. And that amendment
Jeez, here it is.
is on 4.9. And it's to change the 4.9.
Hang on, sorry, just a second, my brain just had a brain moment. You moved, who seconded that?
I was just gonna read it so that you knew what to second.
No, who moved, did you also
I
second?
seconded it, yeah.
Okay, now you wanna make an amendment,
Now
okay,
I'm
thank you, I
gonna make
just
an
I didn't catch the seconder, somebody will be watching and telling me I didn't have a seconder.
So that 4 point,
30 is the one you want, the one you said at 7:32.
yeah, the second
second
one. So that's 4.9, it's the opening paragraph. It suggests the intent. So I think the meat of this amendment, if we go, well, I'll just say it and then we can discuss. So I'll just read it out, if I can find it again. Oh, I found it, thanks. Okay. So I'd like to change the language of encourage the long-term viability of the golf course by encouraging compatible redevelopment of the site in efforts to encourage a golf-oriented community that is highly integrated into the city with, so I'd like to change that paragraph to encourage the vitality of the Rosemont neighborhood by encouraging redevelopment of the golf course in efforts to encourage a healthy and diverse community that is highly integrated into the city with, So a slight shift in tone, but I think it's important. Oh wait, I should see if there's a second before I make these.
I'll second that one.
Yeah, thank you.
And I'd like to ask a question.
Okay.
Sure.
So, the amendment has been moved and seconded. Any debate now, at this point, will be on the amendment. Okay, so everybody's clear on that? Okay, move Lockenberg, seconded Payne. Woodward has a question.
So my question is, does this slight change cause like a ripple effect down the line that now needs to be investigated, and or does it put us at some kind of like risk that we're stepping over the line here to something else?
Just, I'm sorry, I didn't quite get a chance to write it all down. but it
Sorry,
sounded good. No, it's all good, it sounds good. What I would say is, it's the policy, so starting with 4.9.1 and going to the end of that section. And it's also the land use chart on page 57 that are the real meat of the policy. So the entire section is important, but if there was discussion about changing those two sections, the policies and then the land use chart, that would be something that we'd want to investigate. The wording of the introductory paragraph is helpful. It does provide more clarity for staff, but I don't think there'd be an issue with changing that section from a legal perspective.
Okay.
Ken, I've just sent the proposed changes to you there, so it should be in.
Okay, sorry for not sending it.
I don't have my email, but it's
I
okay.
can, it's okay.
So,
Natalie has it.
Please send it to me, Chris.
Do you have something, that you moved this, do you have something more that you wanna say?
Yeah.
Or can I move along my?
well, I was
I'm a
gonna.
little bit out of sync now because my list of people that wanted to talk was on the main motion, but, so I'm gonna defer to you again for a minute. You moved this amendment.
Mhm.
We're talking about the amendment.
So, based on what I heard tonight, what I've heard in the past, what I'm hearing from council, it seems to me that what we're imagining, and you who have been on the OCP committee, I think can speak to this as well. What we're imagining for the Rosemont neighborhood is something that works to the benefit of the Rosemont neighborhood, right? Like that's what we're talking about. And then to the city in general. And I think the focus on the commercial or the village market or the commercial hub was seen as potentially a leverage point. Like maybe if we interrupt that part of it, we'll interrupt the whole halo development. I don't think, and in the conversations I had, people didn't have a problem with like an uphill style market, a little thing, a little bit of, it would add to the community. And I think that the people of Rosemont, just like the people of Uphill, like the Uphill Market, having a little bit of a commercial presence adds some diversity and interest and would help improve potentially traffic flow. Like, so rather than always having to drive, say, to town, to Baker Street to do quick little errands or to pick up something, you would have something more local in the neighborhood. So I think the problem isn't the commercial hub, it's the halo development. And so I just wanted to emphasize that. And I think by just making that tweak on that opening paragraph, because if you go through each one of these items, do we want the inclusion of smart growth policies around the principles of LEAD or Built Green? Yes, nobody has a problem with that. The density on the 300 units, it's a done deal, so it's not material to this conversation. Item after item you go down, it's like, great. It's the vision of Halo in general that's the problem. And in particular, that leverage was, if we get that village hub or commercial hub village center, then Halo wouldn't be able to develop. But this stresses, with this slight amendment to the language, that we're doing this for the benefit of the Rosemont neighborhood. And I just wanted to emphasize that, because it is missing, and I think that's probably an oversight. It was just, you guys just assumed that was taken for granted. But I think being explicit here helps.
Ken, I'm gonna go to you just because you've now seen this again in writing.
No, it looks good. I have a different comment, but it's related to sort of help waylay council's concerns and the public's concerns. I just wanted to actually highlight something that's going to be discussed later, which is the development application procedures bylaw and the development approval, what is it called now? Development approval information amendment to the development application procedures bylaw. So if that is approved by council, it lists a whole different there's a whole list of different studies that the director can ask of an applicant when they apply for rezoning. And one of the things that we can now do, assuming council approves that, is the director may require that the applicant provide development approval information on and a systematic detailed assessment of retail trade impacts of a proposed commercial development, including but not limited to the effects of additional competition, the effects on commercial vacancy rates, and the impacts to neighborhood or sector stability. As well, the director can also ask for a report from the developer as part of rezoning, a report that outlines socioeconomic impacts affecting the day-to-day quality of life of people and communities, including direct and indirect economic impacts, demographics, housing impacts, including tenant relocation, local services, and socioeconomic issues. That's quite a mouthful, but these are some additional things that the city hasn't typically asked for, and it's something that we can ask for going forward with any rezoning, including anything that may happen at Granite Point.
Add the other thing that, that whatever commercial development, part of that, rezone will be what type of commercial is there. Council controls that, so you can decide whether it's just a corner store or what type of commercial that is. So all of that, again, I think the developer has put a vision out there that is so far from a done deal that we have a lot of tools. So as the sure if it's a policy or the statement here that says that right now it says a commercial hub to include retail and studio center that supports Nelson artisan community in the neighborhood of Rosemont. Commercial hub will be complementary to Baker Street as the commercial spine of the city. So even that policy statement, that would say what kind of, our staff would determine what fits with supporting Baker Street and supporting the Rosemont community. So all that is not defined yet.
I have to go, I think, to Councillor Payne, but she may have had a question. I think it was a question pertaining to the first part. Now we're past. Okay, we're good. And then I'm going back over
Wait,
to
you get to go back
Panero,
on
and
the
then I'm
list.
going back to
What about,
Woodward.
we
Sorry,
might,
I get to go back on the list when we go through the amendment.
Yeah.
Cause, okay.
I was gonna speak to the amendment.
Okay, you wanna speak to the amendment? I think
Are you on the amendment?
on the amendment, so he's on the amendment, then what do you?
You wanna go?
Through the chair. Did you mean to write vitality out instead of viability? That was an intentional change, or was that a typo?
Yeah, it was vitality.
Vitality, okay. Interesting. I think, and this riffs off what I said a couple weeks ago, and I've been saying this, I think that OCPs in general, from my limited reading, use a lot of vague language, and the challenge there is that it can be used as leverage for folks to say, this is the thing that I want and it fits in the OCP, look at this, look at that. It creates some loopholes that can be exploited. So my understanding, and this maybe speaks to what CAO is saying, is that it's the zoning alignment with the values that is where we can translate into the actual buildings and the actual use that aligns with our community values. So for example, and I'm guessing this is true because I think I've seen it in other places, you could say, okay, yes, 300 units, but a certain percentage must be rental below market, et cetera. So I think that that's part of zoning, is that correct? And right now it's zoned as a park, correct? Yes. Okay, except for those 6 or 24 or whatever it is. Okay, so that's, out of all these conversations, I think that that's the clarity that at this table, I think that we have now. But to speak to Councillor Pinero's challenges, I do think that it's worthwhile as a community to start to narrow down some of the vague language. The word consider is in a zillion policies in there, and maybe some of them should be will enforce. The word encourage is even in your rewrite, and maybe it should say in efforts to build, guarantee, yeah. Because if we're just encouraging a healthy and diverse community, well, I can just stand on the street with a sandwich board that says, be healthy, and I did the job, according to the OCP. So I would like to see if there's ways that we can start to narrow that focus and to be more stronger in our values and stronger in the language that I use to lean into those values. So I'm curious even about the rewrite. However, the rewrite I think needs to be pretty close to what it was before we start to get ourselves into hot water, before you start to investigate things. But I am curious about, as we move forward with things like zoning, I would like as a group to take out some of words like encourage and consider
Out of the OCP.
as we move forward.
yeah, the OCP is again more general and broader policies, that's why we use more general language, the zoning and your regulations action that and give certainty to it, so it's intentional to, because there's, how many goals and policies do we have, like there's 150 or something, so and you don't know what's gonna happen in the next 5-10 years, so you try not to be super narrow in your OCP, cause you're, who knows what the new invention tomorrow is.
And yet we can also amend the OCP if there's a new context tomorrow that we weren't expecting.
Yeah, well, the
Because I
document is fluid, so we can always change the document
Right.
as
And so it should
need
be written.
arises.
Right, and so it should be written for our context now with the values that we have heard from our community and that we've established in our strategic plan and that we've heard through 2.5 years of consultation and so on. Yeah, thanks.
Councillor Pinero.
Okay, apologize if this goes in several different directions, but on the amendment, I wasn't here for this, but I'm actually surprised that the OCP has been stated, it's like high level and vague. But if I'm reading this right, it said encourage the long-term viability of the golf course by encouraging compatible redevelopment of the site and efforts to encourage 3 times encouraging a golf-oriented community that is highly integrated into the city. So I'm surprised that if this is high level, that we're so in the weeds that we are actually encouraging golf at all. Like that's a specific thing. And do we even do that? I mean, if the golf course was integrated into the community, it would be doing well. And if it's not doing well, it needs to find a way to integrate into the community and be useful to the people that live in the community. And if it's not being useful to the community, what this says is that we're going to replace the community with a community that is into golf. That's how I read it, which is not.
I think that's exactly why Councillor Lockenberg has changed
So
the
I'm
language.
I'm against this being in there at all. An amendment would be amazing, or striking it completely would be fine. Because this is supposed to be a strategic document, it's not like the golf course didn't write it, I don't imagine. I'm confused by that, why it even is there in the first place. And then, so maybe that's a question, I guess.
I can speak to it, I was there at the time, it was driven by the golf course. So they said, to have a viable golf course, we need more development around it, hopefully some of those people play golf. Nothing more than that, so it was a strategy to both provide additional housing, but also hopefully have more people around there, there'd be more golfers. And it is, I think you'll hear from our planning staff was a bit unusual having this type of language in the OCP versus other policies, but that was the history of why it kind of got worded that way.
Fair enough. I think that it's probably unusual because it's not a good idea maybe, and that's potentially why we're in this situation. Because again, like we're not, I don't think the city of Nelson is like married to being a golf friendly city necessarily. If nobody in town wants to play golf, then fine. And if everybody wants to play golf, the golf course will do great. But I don't think we're in control of that.
No, I think again, you had a owner of a bunch of land that wanted to see it developed in a way that both benefited the community and supported the golf course.
Mm-hmm.
So you had in effect, a private landowner that wanted to see, their land used in a certain way. That's why.
And I understand why the golf course would want the golf course to be a golf
And
course.
council at that time supported that.
But I would say that if we let things take their natural course and we continue to have sort of we stand back a little bit and other things, like they own the land and they'll be happy if at the end of the day they'll be happy if it's being used in whatever way benefits them as landowners. So if there was more housing, if there was more green space, if it was a 9-hole golf course instead, if it was there's all kinds of possibilities for that land that aren't necessarily golfing, that do benefit the community. And the community is the community. I mean, we can only serve the community that exists now. I don't think we can hypothesize or wish for a more golf friendly community sometime in the future. So anyway, so in that sense, the amendment I think would be helpful. Although I still don't need the golf course to be mentioned at all, actually, but and then the other thing I question a little bit is, there is commercial in Rosemont. There's that little grocery store, which is exactly what everybody keeps saying they want, and it exists already. So why do we need a community hub if we already have what we need as far as commercial? Like people need a corner store, there is a corner store, and so why do we even entertain that if it opens the door to this sort of exaggeration of gross exaggeration of what the vision is. If we're already able to have small scale commercial enterprises serving a small community, why do we need a community hub language? Why do we need that sort of zoning if we're already accomplishing what we need? I would just question that.
Well, again, I think the vision and the consultation at that time was having neighborhood commercial, a restaurant up there, you know, maybe a hairdresser, those type of things that you could walk to.
Pocket
The-
library.
The you know, same vision was for, you know, the east waterfront, that there should be, you know, and there's some of that already, there's you know, a little bakery down there and those type of things. That's what's encouraged, and to make neighborhoods walkable and support themselves without having to, you know, go downtown to, you know, do some simple
So
business.
I'm sorry if I'm,
That-
with my last, I'm not quite clear yet. Like, if there's a grocery store there now, what's stopping somebody from opening a hair
'Cause it's not
salon in
zoned.
their backyard?
It's not zoned for that,
But why is there a grocery store then?
It's zoned.
because it's zoned for
Zoned.
that.
Just that
Yeah,
one
Yeah.
store?
that lot.
Yeah.
So-
It's been there for a long time.
So this is
But
where.
how did it get zoned that way? It
been
just
there for a long time.
individually?
That's exactly what they're doing here, is they're zoning for those other commercial uses so that we know where that's gonna be in the Rosemont neighborhood.
Mhm.
So that you're pre-planning, like if we're gonna make, as the density grows, if we're gonna make an area have little bits of commercial, the plan is
So
through consultation, people feel like that is the best place to do it in that neighborhood.
Yeah, but
that's
whoever opened Star Grocery or whatever it is
Yeah.
that what it's called? They, at that time,
Years and years.
years and years and years ago, applied for that zoning and for that specific property. And because it worked with the neighbors and it worked with the neighborhood, and everybody in the neighborhood was like, we want that, it got approved. So why are we doing things different? Why don't we
This is a
just?
visioning document. This is always the order of doing it. First, you have the OCP that kind of like envisions the city as a whole. And then all of those zoning things happen. You'll have like zoning that aligns with each of the neighborhoods. And then if you're like, oh, but I wanna put a gym in this place, you would have to apply for a zoning amendment. So the different types of commercial uses. And that's the part about the zoning bylaw, you can use that to make it align with like your values, be like, yeah, we do agree that this is in Rosemont would be like the commercial area, but that doesn't mean that we want, I don't know, something awful like
An abattoir,
54 candy stores.
an abattoir.
But this is
I'm
what I'm
not
saying,
saying
is
anything
like
controversial.
we already have the ability, and I'm not sure why, we have the ability for people to rezone their property right now and give us exactly what we need.
And that's, so.
So why do we need to change it?
So there is no zoning here, it's zoned to park. So anything that happens on this land
Yeah, go for it.
has to come back for zoning to have exactly the discussion that you are asking. If you wanna do it, if it's done before, why couldn't you do it again? And that's the part that we would have to do in the future.
Mhm.
Cause it's not been zoned that way, so it could be that nothing is there or something is there. It's just that it's a park.
And what I'm trying to get at, I guess, is that that is a possibility still, like the needs of the community are being able to be met. And this additional language around neighborhood nodes or commercial hubs or what have you is the language that's gotten us into this situation where developers think that they have a green light to do things that the community doesn't need or want. And so I'm in favor of, if it just means scrapping that language, that vague sort of welcoming language, and keeping it the way it was, where if you have a suitable business venture that's supported by your neighborhood, it will be zoned as such, because council is listening. I don't see why we're changing that.
Well, I think it's, because of the current clubhouse being there, it was defined that makes sense to where that commercial hub is. So you don't want residential built there, because then now you don't have the place for the commercial in that residential neighborhood. So it is good planning to say, okay, this is, we have this undeveloped land, we have this current little node of commercial there. If it's gonna expand, it makes sense to put it there and the residential build up around it. That's the vision, right? Where should it be in this neighborhood versus it could be anywhere.
it's a layer of the bureaucracy, Jesse, like we have to have an OCP that plans for the future. And we have to like take into account all of this feedback, whether it's the housing needs study or some kind of like economic driver. We use the OCP to leverage for grants and other ideas and to attract businesses. It's like this overarching planning document through which everything else is fed. And like it's kind of like a layer of the bureaucracy. I don't know if that's a nice way to say it.
I understand what it is, I
Yeah.
just think that our language in it needs to be careful.
Yeah, I think I just wanna, I think we've heard you, cause we're having a lot of
I
discussion about
realize.
language. And so, and let me tell you, probably changing only 1 or 2 sentences of language almost triggers a whole OCP review. So one of the cautionary tales here is to figure out whether or not we can move forward, cause if we can't move forward, we're going back and we're kind of, depending on how much we change, we're going back and we're gonna do something and we're gonna be having another public meeting. And we're supposed to have this document, not that we have to, if we don't meet the government often doesn't meet the criterias that we've asked it to meet, so I'll stick my neck out there and say I'm willing to risk that we don't meet their criteria, but this isn't supposed to be done by the end of 2025. So we wanna be careful about what we're tweaking here, because some of this probably sends us back to first and second reading and then having to have a public meeting again. So, yeah, just a cautionary tale on that. I believe I'm now at Councillor Payne and then Councillor Woodward. We are still on these few words of amendment at the start of 4.9.
I like that about us.
Please make sure I'm on the list.
Okay, Paige, you're on the list.
I didn't have anything about the
Okay.
amendment before, but I will say very quickly, is changing the wording of the golf course to recreational facility a substantive change that would trigger any sort of,
It's recreation. I think it's actually called I think it's even, at one time it was called the Nelson, wasn't it the Nelson Golf and Recreation Society or something? I don't think that word changes the,
okay,
You got tennis
that's it then,
courts
I'm
there.
still,
yeah. Yeah, I mean, you're right, we're talking about words now, so.
yeah, I feel the same about golf, I'm not sure that the way we've golfed in the past is going to be a future facing
Yep, there's,
recreational activity. There will be ways that sport carries forward, but maybe not on huge
You're the-
swaths of land.
you're not the first, nor will you be the last councillor that thought golf should be something else up there, or perhaps 16
I'm not
holes.
saying it should be something else, I'm saying we need to open,
Yeah.
as Councillor Pinero's saying, that's first I thought of it, just open that possibility to what the future will hold when we're talking about, an OCP 2050.
Yeah, and it might, because remember, it's all just zone park now, so who knows what the ask might come back. The ask could come back, and there is no golf course there anymore. Councillor Woodward,
So
Councillor Page.
thank you, Mayor. On the amendment, as we were all talking, I went back to the document, 4.9, as you were doing, Councillor Lockhart, it's all there. I mean, the brake pumping and the so I'm trying to get out here, there's lots of stopgaps, and it's all in here.
Guardrails.
Guardrails, thank you. Again, I go back, instead of putting an amendment into this, that we actually just do some communication with the public. Because it is all here, and we have been at this for 2.5 years. So I'm wondering, because there's so many guardrails built in, could we, because what really does worry me is that if we do this, that we kick off, as the mayor was saying, a whole nother process.
We're gonna pass the third reading.
I don't think
We're
that,
comfortable with,
I don't think we would, I think that
Okay.
this is a introductory statement, this doesn't
Okay.
affect policy or
Okay.
procedure.
Okay,
So- And I have to say that
okay,
I like this.
okay,
I
so
think-
as long
I think there's a
as,
flavor that people like the change.
okay.
We still have to hear from Councillor
So my
Page
only
on it.
request would be that if we are gonna go ahead with the amendment, that we do put out some kind of communication that clearly defines like what's happening here, the guardrails are built in, like something that the people can grab onto and be like, okay, like they were obviously thinking about all this stuff already. I just feel like people maybe didn't understand that there were so many guardrails already built in, because it felt like what I heard tonight was kind of like a bit of a panic, like, you know, in 2 years it's gonna be, you know, $10 million condos up there or something. Like, that's not gonna happen, so I think people need to know that. So that's what I'm asking, so.
Yeah.
We're gonna do it, please some communication from the city.
I'm gonna allow Natalie to respond, then Councillor Page.
Through the chair, we did receive a number of letters for the public hearing, and most of them were related to Granite Point, but we did receive a few other letters. So as a resource both to the community and to council, at the very bottom of that package is a staff response. I'm wondering if that communication maybe could be brought up to the top of that package and then shared with the community, and it does kind of talk about you know, we don't have an application and it will be reviewed against these policies, and it just kind of clarifies what these policies do and what they don't do. But if there's any more, if you want more clarity or more details in that communication, we can certainly provide that as well, but that was part of the public communication package.
And I thought that was a good, if you haven't had a chance to read it, because we've gotten a lot of information the last few days, but that's letter that's gone back out to most of those letters that were received, I think covers some of the concerns that you have, Councillor Woodward.
Thank you.
Councillor Page, the P's over on the left-hand side.
Thank you. So I'm in support of the change. I think it does a good job of centering the neighborhood and the residents in that language where the previous introductory language did not, so I appreciate that. And I do think going to staff and having an examination of what it takes to renew the plan, which is in a couple months will be 7 years old, the Granite Neighborhood Plan, will be appropriate, and I will bring a motion to that nature after we're done this piece, because I think there's benefit to having a dialogue with that neighborhood once more and seeing if there's any other changes that need to be incorporated before we go through rezonings and these other tough questions, because that's gonna give better clarity for the developer, for Granite, for the neighborhood, for us.
Well, it could be a new development at that time too. I mean,
Exactly.
you're gonna be going through this process every time
Yeah.
a developer comes. I mean, I've been at this table long enough, I saw the Kulos property, Walmart waterfront rezoned, I don't know, 4 times. There's a piece of property on the way to Bealby Point Road that I think has come in front of council 7 times for a rezone, still has nothing built on it, so yeah, you can tailor it so much, but I think having the conversation is an important conversation to continue having for sure. But right now it's still a park with holes in it.
Shall we remove the amendment?
I just wanna see, okay, so I see no other conversation on the amendment, so Councilor Lockenberg, I'm gonna go with your second one here. Encouraging the vitality of the Rosemont neighborhood by encouraging redevelopment of the golf course in efforts to encourage a healthy and diverse community that is highly integrated into the city.
Few too many encourages.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, you wanna get rid of all those encourages?
Just encourage heavy.
It's guaranteed a vitality of the Rosemont neighborhood.
So require, demand.
Well, we have to have one that we all agree on here, so your very last one says here, encourage the redevelopment of the golf course in efforts to promote a vital and walkable neighborhood that is highly integrated into the city.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean,
You wrote it.
Yeah, I mean, that's fine with me.
Yeah.
It was the last, it was too many encourages. It said encourage 3 times.
Because there was encouraged 3 times in the original one.
Yeah.
We can
Yeah.
enhance, we can elevate,
Foster. We did foster.
we can thesaurus ourselves around.
Well, it could be, we encourage the vitality of the Rosemont neighborhood by supporting redevelopment of the golf course in an effort to build a healthy and diverse community that is highly integrated with the city.
Yeah, I like that one.
Not
Yeah.
effort, in order.
Yeah, go with that one.
Yeah.
In order to.
In order to.
Over 6.
Yeah, stronger,
There you go.
stronger, see?
Did we get that?
Did we get that?
Sonia.
Well, I've got it, so where did you put that in? So what he had here was encourage the vitality of the Rosemont, and just tell me where you put in your extra pieces.
Instead of in effort, he said in order to.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, okay, so the redevelopment of the course, of the golf course in order to foster.
Yeah.
Okay, it's this one here.
That one says another try?
Right, this one here,
This one is better?
this one here. Can you read that? And then which, yeah,
Encourage the vitality of
the Rosemont neighborhood by supporting the redevelopment of the golf course. And what was your word again?
In order
In
to
order
foster.
to foster.
In order to foster.
Or encourage everyone.
No, we're not using, whatever, we're not using efforts, but
In order to foster, and then I just keep going, okay.
a healthy
if
and
we have
diverse
fo-
community that is highly integrated into the city.
We have fostered there, then we don't need in order. We just need to foster.
Okay.
Foster, so yeah.
Diverse
Okay, now we're getting,
community.
get rid of more words.
Can we hear it back, Sonia?
Okay, so I think Sonia's got now.
Getting there.
We changed encourage the vitality?
No, we started with that.
Okay. To encourage the vitality of the Rosemont neighborhood by
Supporting.
supporting, that's what I needed to
Yeah.
change. Supporting development of the golf course to foster a healthy and diverse community.
And we might wanna say golf course lands.
Yeah.
Or recreational lands. Golf course lands,
Right
yeah,
now, they're a golf course land.
Yeah, the golf course lands, that makes more sense.
got it.
Okay, so
that's
on
the
the amendment. We've had it moved and we've had it seconded.
Sorry, should we just say support the long-term vitality versus encourage the long-term? Like, I don't know how you encourage vitality to, you support it.
Well, we got supporting right after, by supporting redevelopment.
By encouraging such a
Change to
I think that one could be encouraging.
support. Okay, so then it would be changed to support the vitality of the
Long-term
Rosemont neighborhood.
I think the
Okay.
long-term
By
vitality.
Change to
encouraging.
support the long-term vitality of the Rosemont neighborhood by
No.
encouraging.
Redevelopment of the golf course lands?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're just swapping out encourage and supporting.
Encouraging redevelopment of the golf course lands to foster a healthy and diverse community.
You have
Sorry.
Ken here.
Okay,
Perhaps we could just change the golf course lands to all of the lands within the Granite Point redevelopment land use designation.
Wow.
Very specific.
That's more words.
But it's specific.
And the reason is that in one of the policies, it states that there's a maximum of 300 units. If you refer to the Granite Point golf course lands, that is not including the already approved or already built units that are.
Right.
So you're actually would be increasing the number of units. So it's better perhaps to reference the Granite Point
Okay.
redevelopment land use designation.
That's why we have planners. Because we will
No.
stay over here on support and encourage.
You guys will actually
We didn't
like,
inadvertently want to perhaps give them an extra 20 units or something.
Let's not.
And it's called the Granite Point redevelopment land use
Designation.
designation to foster a healthy and diverse community.
Sonia, can we hear the whole thing again?
Okay, so that language that we're gonna change, which I have in here, be changed to support the long-term vitality of the Rosemont neighborhood by encouraging redevelopment of all the Granite Point redevelopment land use designation to foster a healthy and diverse community. To foster not all of the.
Yeah. Encouraging redevelopment.
Well, you can do it if you're on the computer.
Yeah.
We are the best.
Oh, right,
Okay, I think we've got the gist of it. I'm gonna risk asking for a vote.
Yeah.
Okay.
Please.
So it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor? And that carries. Thank you. So that's resolution number 1.
That's the amendment.
No, that was the amendment.
Yeah, we
That
have
was the
not,
amendment. Now
we
we're
haven't
on,
voted.
now we're back to the
Resolution.
Okay.
We're still on by title only, third reading by title
third
only.
reading.
I'll move.
No, that's already
Or-
moved.
It's already
okay.
been moved and seconded.
Okay.
Do we have more discussion regarding any other aspects of the OCP in general? Okay, Councillor Payne, then I've got Councillor Pinero afterwards.
There were 2 additional letters that were not relating to Granite Point about the Perrier Road. Access to Upper Rosemont, I don't know if that's the proper way to say that. So I do understand that that was just carried forward from the 2013 OCP, which sort of makes sense in a way, but on the other hand, this OCP could be the opportunity to just, like we cleaned up some other things, to clean this up, because we've got our active transportation running over, from my perspective, 2 different parcels of private property. Because it's going over the Selkirk property, and then it's going over the residents of Perrier Road, who did come to us in 2022 and asked us to do something about that. And nothing has moved forward until recently. And now we have the opportunity to just take that off the map until we do have a different designation. Is that a challenging thing
I
to
would
do?
ask, I think that's a challenge to do that at this late in the game, and I would suggest that there's conversation coming up in the not too distant future regarding Perrier Lane, in which case we will do whatever then the necessary changes would be it.
So at that point in time, we can move the line, is that what you're saying? Because I think once we pass this, the line is there.
It's
The right
there, but
is
just like
there.
everything else, we can change this as we go forward. You just,
And I just, yeah, I think always the intent of council when they created that subdivision was to have that as public access. Just didn't get registered properly.
To have a public access through 2 sets of private property as opposed to utilizing,
Like, just like the,
purchasing a right of way that we could
just
have.
like the whole waterfront pathway down on John's Walk is all through private property. That's a stat right away. I think the along the Prestige again is private lands. That's a stat right away as well. That's a common, basically cities decide whether they're gonna take ownership or put a stat right away to allow access. So anyway, you can talk about it. I think that it's always been to create that corridor through there, and that was always the intent to, go through that lands. I would say Selkirk lands are public lands, not private lands. So, that was
I
always,
think from a liability
the vision.
perspective, are they?
Yeah, I can walk through Selkirk College's lands anytime I want.
And
right?
if we designate it as active transportation and you walk through it and something happens to you, then we're responsible as the city because we've designated it as an active transportation, or is Selkirk responsible? Because you tripped over something.
Yeah.
That's the part that I'm
That way
talking about.
we work with
That's
Selkirk on the
Yeah.
lines, so.
Yeah, I am having a hard time imagining, and maybe I'm mistaken, that in 2013, Council of the Day envisioned what that
Yeah, they did.
area would become.
Yep.
Okay, they did, okay.
Ever since that subdivision was developed. It just didn't, we created that fire lane, it wasn't meant to be for car traffic, but it was always meant for public to access, and they did access that. It was envisioned for 20 years, right? It wasn't until the property owners changed that changed, right?
Okay,
And council can choose a different route in the future. Right now, that was the vision that And that hasn't changed from 2013 or 2013.
Natalie?
I just wanted to kind of highlight, I know it's in that response, but it does not commit council to move
No.
forward with a pathway in that location, but it's just kind of highlighting that there could be an opportunity there, and obviously Perrier Lane is very disconnected from the rest of the city. So I think it does make sense to try and find an active transportation route at some point.
Totally agree.
But it is really just meant to be conceptual. At a later date, you know, we could remove that at the
Okay.
direction of council.
Okay. Thank you.
Councillor Pinero.
Yeah, so just going back to the OCP thing, the bigger
Bigger one.
the big one. So we have a deadline, right, of the end of the year, and you've said that. So there's that pressure, and obviously there's been a lot of work to put this through, and that is like many times that's the case, like so much work goes into this, and then half the town shows up and says that they don't like it. So I just, and you know, Mayor, you said, well, if we have to be careful because if we change one thing, we may end up having to rejig the whole thing and have another public hearing, and I, without mitigating or trying to sound like that's what I want necessarily, because I realize how much work that is and how much staff time that is, and like I understand that absolutely. So I'm not advocating for that per se. I just think that we need to be like the idea of passing this with all of that clear, like that clear direction from the public that said they don't want this, and then on some sort of on basically a promise to revisit it later. What that's, I'm getting ahead of it here and projecting how that sounds to people, and I think what I've heard many times before in other situations is that many people feel that, you know, we as a city kind of inch things forward to a point of no return and then do it anyway. And and that's how a lot of these things are looked at, and we need, and there was many people that actually just came out and said it, like there needs to be trust built here because this has happened many times before. I don't see how we would, like, this development, particularly this development, I don't see how it can go forward given like the public's position on it. But still, there's that perception that we are just pushing things over the line until there's nothing we can do about it anymore, and it happens. And I think we need to be aware of that. And so I'm not advocating that we blow it up and start over again. I'm just advocating that we take that message to heart, because I think it is real. I think I don't think it's just spin. You know, like it's not a matter of just putting a different spin on it. There's something that happens actually that's making these things go forward that a lot of people that's not what they wanted. That's not what they were envisioning. And there was a public engagement process, and somehow what they wanted and what ended up being proposed are not the same thing. And so we need to examine that process as well. And so, you know, I just wanna, like, if this is gonna be, you know, to respect our deadlines and to be in compliance and all these things, we have to go forward with this. It needs to be with that very strong realization that something does need to change in here. And there's a clear, like, I don't think people don't understand. I think people do understand and they're against it. And I think that needs, so it's not a matter of messaging, it's a matter of actual nuts and bolts, like it's fundamental, something needs to change in there. So I don't know how that works quite. So like there's part of me that like I don't wanna approve this because it's not something that people approve of. And we're here to represent people, not to ram stuff down their throat. And I understand what that means. And so, you know, maybe we will approve it. But like, that's also real and it really bothers me. So I just feel like we need to go forward with some direction to staff. If we're gonna approve this and revisit it later, it has to be serious. And it has to have some teeth, and it has to be something that ensures that the vision of the community is respected, and not brushed aside or ignored because we've gone too far, our hand is forced, or we're in a legal. We have to find the legal avenue to do the will of the community, not not be restrained by our legal avenues to do the will of the community.
Just to be clear, Council Panero, I didn't say that we have to do this. All I was telling you is that the more we change, the more it goes back. And you know what?
Understand.
If it goes back, like I said, and the government wants to write a letter and say, shame on you and penalize us, I'm willing to wear that, if that's what it takes. That's what I said. I didn't say, we've gotten here, it's been 2.5 years, now we have to pass it.
No, I
just wanna
wasn't
be-
suggesting that.
I just want to be very clear, because it sounded like you were saying to me that I was saying that,
No.
no, I
You just
mean
said
like,
that pressure, I was just talking about that pressure, and it
yeah,
does
I
exist.
mean,
I'm
because
not-
there is, because the more,
That's not what you said.
because the reality is the more that we go at other things, if we had another 3 or 4 things here that we didn't particularly agree with, it does become more of a challenge in terms of the fact that it will be delayed and it will be coming back, and we would have another public hearing. We're getting to be really good at public hearings, so this is our 3rd one in like 3 months or something like that, so
It's a good thing.
yeah,
Love filling the room.
This
Hearing
is-
from people.
yeah, exactly. I think I'm at Councillor Lochner.
Thank you. So, through the chair, Councillor Pinheiro, there's a couple things you said that I want to clarify. Because it did feel like you were suggesting that, you know, we as council and city and staff are, you know, guilty of some narrative about, yeah, we inch things along and then it happens and we don't listen or respond to the community. That's what it sounded like to me.
I'm saying that is the narrative that I hear a lot.
Sure.
I'm not assigning guilt at all.
Right, you don't agree with it. You
I'm
just hear
just
it.
saying that that's what a lot of people, that's
Sure,
the
it's a
perception.
Yeah,
And so I
That's a
think
big-
it's
that's a
something
big
that we
difference.
have to be, I think I
For sure.
said that.
for sure.
But there has to be a realization of if you're gonna do things, you have to realize what people think you're doing.
Yeah.
And so it's something that needs to be accounted for.
I think all of us agree. And a 2+ year process of doing the OCP in which there was time and time again engagement with the public really, I think, underscores how much we spend listening to the community. Sometimes though, people only hear at the end, or they only hear something that, you know, a rather poorly written paragraph or something, or a badly made video. And then that becomes the symbol of everything that they're concerned about. That video is just a video. It's not this project. It's not 4.9. That video is completely divorced from what 4.9 is, and I don't think that is clear. I don't think many people understand that. What we heard tonight, I think, was a lot of people talking about their worries about what this project is going to do on affordable housing. It's going to drive up housing costs. We heard over and over again people saying, you know, I can't live here. I can't afford to live here. My kids can't afford to live here. And the problem is this development. But that isn't, and then they blame 4.9, section 4.9. That is a misunderstanding. That is not true. What is true is that the community thought long and hard about creating a diverse, interesting development in that neighborhood. Something that is environmental, something that supports the business community on Baker Street, something that will create a diverse mix of housing, including affordable housing, will contribute to the Affordable Housing Fund, will do a lot of really positive things that the community is looking for. But I don't think many people saw that, or they thought, and I did hear this myself, that, oh, that's just smoke and mirrors. What's really behind it is what they saw in that video. And that's not true. It's not the video. It's literally what the words on the page are saying and describing. Now, it could, step by step as we go along, as the development permit comes and the process continues, there will be people, including the Granite Point Golf Course themselves, members of the community, who will be advocating for something like the Halo development. So it's not universal that all of Nelson is opposed to Halo. In fact, so many people that I've heard from actually love that vision. They're like, oh, amazing. Wow, we're gonna have a golf course. There's gonna be residential pricing there. We'll have this world-class course. We'll have like the businesses and the restaurants at Baker Street see some opportunity. So let's be clear, there's going to be some constituency in the community that do support that vision. So I think this conversation isn't over, but my sense, and I think certainly my perspective is that what I see here and what I imagine when I read this is definitely some more residential development, for sure. Definitely a golf course or an open piece of parkland, hopefully, but not 1,000 units of housing on every strip of grass. I don't imagine that. I imagine something that's got a lot of green space that's going to really support the ability of residents of Rosemont to be able to walk through that golf course or ski it in the wintertime or sled down some of those slopes in the wintertime. I still see that being there whatever happens. And that's what I think most of us are going to be working towards. Yes, there will be development. Housing, there will be units built for sure. That's already going to happen. And hopefully we can support with like open and honest and good faith dialogue a project that the people of Rosemont will come to love. And that will include hopefully a pub, maybe a little restaurant, maybe a grocery store as well. And I think that vision, and I agree with you, I agree with Councillor Woodward, and I think we've all said something like it, that we need to continue as a council and as a city to communicate that truth. And so we will.
It's in there.
Okay, so I'm gonna take Councillor Tate as the last speaker.
Oh goodness, that's a lot of pressure. You don't need to take me as last. I just wanted to riff off Councillor Logdeberg for 1 sec. And
No, well, he's working on something over there, so I'm,
thank you.
So
Through
then-
the,
cause I think he's
Already after
bringing,
yeah.
he wants to bring another resolution.
I just wanted to be clear, because if you're the
He's
last
not
speaker,
changing,
then
he's not
the-
changing this. I wanna
No.
see if we can have a vote on
Okay,
Me and Janice had a go.
one.
okay.
Thank you, Councillor Tate.
I love what you said. I agree with what you said. I agree the challenge is that the language is vague, sometimes necessarily. The zoning needs to be aligned with our values, and that's where we can leverage and say, the building must have recreation, if that's where we end up. You can say that in a zoning bylaw, or in the zone. The one little piece I'd like to just bounce off of is saying, where you're focusing a little bit on the Rosemont residents and how it would work for them. True. And for the whole city.
Yeah.
I think it's really important that we don't just say the person who lives right next door has to work for that person, but everything that is in this visionary document is for the growth of the entire city. So we do want green spaces on both sides of the city. We do want pubs if you're into pubs, and restaurants if you're into restaurants, and I keep saying pocket library in all the different little walkable spaces in the whole city. And that makes the whole city an awesome place to live. And it has all of these downstream effects of attracting new businesses and attracting young families, and then our schools are blossoming, and then we're getting the right kind of funding for our schools, and so on and so forth. So yes, working for the residents of Rosemont, but also this document is intended to work for the residents of the entire city. So just to riff off all the beautiful inspirational things you just said and spread that out.
And the equity of access and equity of services right across the city.
Thank you. Yeah, you should, yeah.
Okay.
Equity was one of the big, I was on the committee, I've been on the committee for 2 years, I mean, we did a lot, we did work. We didn't just show up and eat pizza, we did work.
This is a lot of work.
Okay, so I just wanna regroup my thoughts here, is that we've passed the amendment. And have we passed reading for the third time only? Okay.
We haven't voted on that.
So I'm going to ask for, seeing so nobody else has got their hand up, if I could take a vote on that the official community plan bylaw number 3629/2025 be read third time by title only. Been moved and seconded.
As amended.
Oh, as amended, sorry. Be read third time as amended.
That's why we pay the big bucks.
By title only. All those in favor and opposed, and that carries. I'm just gonna ask council, you didn't put your hand up for either, are you in the affirmative or are you against?
You don't vote, you're in the affirmative.
If you don't vote, you're in the affirmative, so I just wanna just clarify that, to me,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm in the affirmative, I
Okay.
suppose.
thank you. Anyways, carries. So, now we're on to resolution number 2.
Move.
Second.
I get to read it.
Whoa, okay, Councillor Tate, have
Let's
you
make sure I'm on
found
the-
this yours?
Am I on the right one? I'm on so many, sorry, I am now, I'm pretty sure, thanks. That council passes the following resolution, number 2, that the official community plan bylaw number 3629/2025 be finally adopted,
As amended,
as amended.
they finally adopted.
Thank you.
Okay, do we have any further discussion on this? I think we've covered it off, nobody had any other points that they wanted to bring up, other,
There's one other point that I'd like to
Okay.
bring up, just to emphasize something you said earlier. I did hear a remark about if we didn't move this forward, we would need to go back to a public hearing, and I just wanna stress the fact that the public hearing is, as you've said, so we can hear from the community. If there is something strongly heard that we feel we aren't able to deal with in a way that staff is supporting us on, we definitely would go back through the process.
Oh, yeah.
That's
sure,
what the
for sure.
public hearing is for. So I just wanna make sure that was clear, because I think there's been a lot going on here. And I want to have everyone who spent their valuable time to come here and speak with us tonight to understand that I, for one, and I think everyone here is very grateful for that. And we did hear them, and we did read the letters, and believe that we have a good process going forward with the support of staff as we do this.
and I think there's gonna be many opportunities as we look at not only this development, but other developments in town as they come online, that whoever is in these chairs in another 12 months, will be looking at having more public hearings as land is developed.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's been moved and seconded. All those in favor? And that carries. Okay, I'm going to ask Councillor Page, who's been waiting patiently, to put resolution number 3 on the floor.
The council directs staff to investigate the impacts of re-engaging the public on the Granite Point neighborhood plan and report back as soon as possible on the required resources, timeline, and potential outcomes of a new planning process. Being specific that this is about the plan, which we had done before.
And what, can I just have some clarity about,
yeah.
what are we asking them to look at the plan? Because there is no plan, right? Like, I struggle a little bit with the fact that we have no development in front of us. I don't want staff to tell us, what, I'm just trying to figure out what the development's supposed to look like, because they're not the developers. Do you see where I'm a bit lost? It's late, but do you see where I'm a bit?
So my understanding, and happy to have this conversation, is we had developed the the specific neighborhood plan in the past, which we're now incorporating into the OCP as is, because that's what's standing,
Right,
that's
right.
what adjusted, we
Okay.
repositioned some of that introductory statement, but my ask is essentially seeing the amount of conversation the community wishes to have, that examining and re-engaging the public on what I would call the Granite Neighborhood Plan, which is that section and the
Okay.
details on the specific pieces, is what's it gonna cost? What could possibly end up changing? And what would be the impacts of doing that process once more? So my
Okay.
goal with that would be first to hear from staff in a couple meeting cycles to find out, is this doable? Does it even kind of make sense because it's new? Or, you know, for some of the reasons already stated, it actually just, we should wait until some other checkpoint comes along. I have heard enough from the community that their introduction to the 2019 process was, at this point, a draft of sorts to the community. We adopted it, we took it in, new information has come in the subsequent time, we've had a pandemic in the middle of it, and people are looking at that particular process and those particular bullet points and wanting to weigh in once more. Now, maybe we don't deviate very far from what the bullet points are that are in that section, but maybe we end up in a different place. But I think part and parcel with the conversation that's been going on is when we start to contemplate what could be going on with this developer or potentially another developer, the community still needs to get their teeth into what those pieces look like now that they're fully engaged. And I just believe that they're connected to this work so much more than they were in 2018, that it behooves us.
They were connected to the work.
Well, they were, I don't know, and I went to all those, I went to the public meetings too, but I just think, like, we have benefited from going through these processes a few times. I think this is of such importance that I think it does make sense to understand what it would take
So you're just asking
update.
us to.
Review like 4.9.
Neighborhood plan.
To review you want a review of 4.9.
I thought you wanted to review it.
Well, they're the same thing, it could
Could you just make, I'm sorry,
Like, maybe we should just have a bit of a workshop with the council to clarify that, because I don't know. You're looking at us to reconsider 300 units or,
I think,
right now,
yeah.
now it's, you know, it was designed to have the lower, lower units in the, bordering the residential and higher units, and the, the current hub where the clubhouses would be the little commercial center, like you wanna revisit the whole thing?
I think we've heard enough from the community that tells me the community wants to reconsider much of what we have laid down in 2019. I think the nonprofit golf course came to us at a time looking to create more certainty and flexibility around what could be going on there. Community engaged at the time, things have shifted, it's almost, we're already on the rounding error of a decade. What does it look like to look at this plan and renew it and connect with the community
Well, maybe
once
we
more?
can bring back the implications.
That's what this is this is just that is what this is asking for now.
Okay.
Yeah, cause I think it's
It's not
looking at
asking us to
4.9
do it,
and then what
it's
the
asking us to,
implications are
like-
for the rest of the OCP.
Yeah, what are the required resources, timeline, and potential outcomes of a new planning process? That's the action.
I'm gonna go to staff just because, yeah.
So
Jen?
Natalie and I
My
have
stuff
been
goes to stuff
deliberating a
anyways.
potential motion for council. So what we've come up with is that council directs staff to investigate the legal, technical, and administrative impacts of making changes to the Granite Point section of OCP bylaw 3629/2025. And we can come back with some options as well, and we can also give council some idea of perhaps what the lawyer says about this all and administrative impacts and costs and all that sort of thing.
I'm also okay with that.
Okay,
Friendly amendment.
friendly
So is that like
amendment.
number
Oh, we'll go with the staff, we can just go with the staff recommendation, you haven't been seconded yet, so
is that like number 3 then?
that would be number 3. So did everybody hear that and understand it, and so,
Did we not give you
I'll second that.
okay. So moved by Councillor Page, seconded by Councillor Woodward.
Sorry, Sonia.
The staff recommendation that, Sonia, you gonna read it again? Do you wanna hear it again?
Sure.
That council direct staff to investigate the legal, technical, and administrative impacts of making changes to the Granite Point section of the OCP bylaw 3629/2025.
That's a good first step.
And maybe double check the bylaw number.
That's right, it's 3629/2025. Got that right? Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so is Councillor Payne?
So I wasn't here in 2019 and I'm trying to understand this because it looks like in 2017 there was a Granite Point revitalization plan. And then that became the Granite Point plan, neither one of which I can find, but maybe I can get them later so I have that historical perspective. So, yeah, I just sort of have news articles right now, but so it started in 2017 as a request from the not-for-profit running the golf club who was not able to be financially viable and sort of moved onward from there to where we are today. Okay, I will do my homework while you investigate the process. Thank you.
Okay.
I just needed some clarity around that because I can't find all the documents here.
Okay. Seeing that recommendation number 3 has been moved and seconded.
Who did?
It was moved by Page, seconded by Woodward. And all those in favor? And that carries. Thank you, council.
Thank you, Melanie and Ken too.
Oh, yes, thank you to staff. They're not going anywhere because
Okay.
we're just started on the
Just
list of these.
It's 9 o'clock.
Okay,
2 hours.
so
Don't look at the clock.
I just want to thank council for their reasoned and thoughtful comments around this process. I think that's one of the things that even when we don't necessarily all agree, we can still all leave the room and know that we can walk down the same side of the street tomorrow. So just want to thank everybody for that. It's been a long journey, the OCP, and it's a fluid document, so the journey really hasn't ended. It's just begun down a different path. We're on to 9B, zoning bylaw amendment of the official community plan update, bylaw notice enforcement amendment, community plan update. So adopting the proposed official community plan, which repeals the current OCP, requires several housekeeping changes to the zoning bylaw and the bylaw notice enforcement bylaw. It is proposed to transfer several elements from the 2013 OCP to the zoning bylaw rather than carry them forward in the 2025 OCP. No regulatory changes are being proposed, and none will impact property's development potential. At its regular meeting on August 19th, council approved the first and second readings of the zoning bylaw amendment, official community plan update number 3626/2025, as well as 3 readings of the bylaw notice enforcement amendment, official community plan number 3627/2025, a public hearing for the zoning bylaw amendment, official community plan update number 3626/2025 is scheduled for September 9th. Council is now requested to proceed with the third and final readings of the zoning bylaw amending bylaw and to adopt the bylaw notice enforcement amending bylaw. Are these designed to be tongue twisters at 9 o'clock at night?
I'll move.
Anyways, okay.
One.
Okay, moved by Councillor Woodward, seconded by Councillor Payne. Councillor Woodward.
That the zoning bylaw amendment, official community plan update 3626/2025 be read a third time by title only.
Councillors, do you have any questions? I think this is all basically just housekeeping and we had a good review of this at the last meeting. Then I will hazard all those in favor and opposed, and that carries.
Move second.
Okay, moved by Councillor Woodward, seconded by Councillor Page.
That the zoning bylaw amendment, official community plan update 3626/2025 be finally adopted.
Okay, so didn't have any conversation on recommendation 1. All those in favor of recommendation 2, and that carries. Thank you, council.
Move 3.
And Councillor Woodward, seconder. Councillor Tate.
Yes?
Yeah.
Okay. that the bylaw notice and enforcement amendment official community plan update 3627-2025 be finally adopted.
Any questions or concerns? Seeing no questions, all those in favor? And that carries. Thank you, councillors. Moving on to the development application procedurals amendment.
Move.
Moved by Councillor Woodward, seconded by Councillor Tate.
That the development application procedure amendment official community plan update bylaw number 2628-2025 be finally adopted.
And I think this is, as Ken's point, this gives us a lot more authorities to actually address a lot of things that you heard during the OCP, so.
For sure, and I would maybe just add, it does provide clarity, because often when speaking to developers, they can sometimes disagree on whether or not studies are required. And it's very clear now in provincial legislation and in the municipal bylaw, without a doubt, the director can ask for these studies now.
Yeah, this is a great addition, given so many changes that the provincial government has put in that sort of make you feel like you don't have any way to put in any guardrails, but I think this is great that we're now adopting this, so it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor? And that carries. Thank you, councillors. Council, it's craziness, and I know that you're all gonna vote in favor, but I can't be in the room when you have this vote, so unperceived conflict. This is Kate Tate is the acting mayor.
The City of Nelson implemented its short-term rental regulations in 2017. Since then, staff have continued to monitor their effectiveness and bring forward amendments as needed to clarify requirements, streamline processes, and strengthen enforcement. The proposed amendment to the Fees and Charges Bylaw number 3092/2008 aims to simplify the fee structure for short-term rental guest room licenses, streamline the application process, and ensure greater clarity and flexibility for license holders. Council passed first 3 readings of the proposed bylaw at the August 19th regular meeting. Fees and Charges Amendment, Short-Term Rental Guest Rooms Bylaw number 3645/2025 is now presented for adoption. Did staff have anything to add? Moved by Councillor Page.
Second by Woodward.
Can you read it for us, Paige?
That the fees and charges amendment short-term rental guest rooms bylaw number 3645/2025 be finally adopted.
Questions? I have a question. Did you get any new feedback from the 13 affected license holders?
No, we haven't notified them yet. We are gonna notify them tomorrow about the change.
Did you have any other, whenever short-term rentals comes up, we sometimes hear from people, it's just one of the things that we hear about. Has there been any additional feedback as this has come through agendas? No. Okay, interesting, thanks. Any other questions? All those in favor? Pass, thank you. I do have one other question that just came into my brain as we were doing all of this. Can you please remind me the new provincial regulations this year that had to do with you don't have to have a public hearing if it's just for a rezone, just for housing, if it's within the OCP? Can you remind me that new rule? Sorry, I'm gonna try to wrap my brain at 9 o'clock at night.
So I think
Ken knows, he's excited, he's rolling.
public hearings, the city cannot hold a public hearing for a rezoning that is consistent with your OCP, that is for residential, or if 50% of the gross floor area of the development is also residential. So if there's a mixed use component and at least half of the project is residential, then that project would also get a skip the public hearing. The rest of the rezoning process would still be in place. So that would be a public open house, neighbor notification, and council could still receive letters. Thank you.
Well, and I think council can also choose to have more process, right? In
You
terms
could
of,
change your processes.
right, posting, hosting a session, like, the Granite Point, council at that time chose to have a mediated session to hear from the public and get feedback, so you can add additional steps, you just can't have a formal hearing, right?
Thank you.
Okay, moving on. You guys were really fast with that, very good. We are at now 10A. So the proposed 2026 council meeting calendar and the 2026 acting mayor schedule are presented for council approval. I asked staff to bring this forward as early as possible this year so that people can have opportunity to plan their vacations and whatever for 2026 accordingly. And you'll see in there the dates for the usual things that we attend, AKBLG, FCM, and UBCM. So there we go.
Move.
Moved by Councillor Woodward,
Second.
seconded by Councillor Tate. Any concerns, whatever? As you know, this could always come back and be adjusted. Did you have a concern?
Just a comment.
Sure.
I will be gone for almost all of December, so
That's fine.
hopefully nothing happens
I mean,
to
sometimes people are
Janice.
gone for the month that they've been assigned, and so it goes on moves on a go-forward basis.
Okay,
So if there was nobody here if you weren't here and I wasn't here, Councillor Lockenberg would take the chair for any meetings that needed to be held. That's the procedural bylaw requirement, so. Councillor Page.
I'm looking at just the handful of meetings that land immediately after a holiday. Specifically like Easter.
What month, Councillor Payne?
Well, there's a few of
April.
them, and I'm almost contemplating that like,
February, Family Day.
sorry.
A long.
Well, it just it feels, with AKBLG there, like it feels like in April, if the regular and the committee were both shifted one more week farther, so the regular was on the 14th of April before we went to AKBLG. We're not coming off of Easter and going straight into a meeting, which means we're all reviewing agendas. And then we're also not coming off of AKBLG and going straight into a cow, or at least a day into a cow. But then I look at May and I feel like if we keep following that schedule, then we get we don't go straight from Victoria Day into another committee of the whole. Then
I see what you're saying.
maybe suggesting we make that shift.
You could start in February. We could start in February.
That's why I wasn't doing the math as fast as you, but I was like, I feel like February, if we shift it forward and then just follow that all the way through, until probably June.
I do find it quite difficult to read the agendas when we're at a conference.
Cause I just think that whole quarter, those 2 quarters were just like coming from a thing and then going to a meeting, coming to a thing and going to a meeting.
Yeah, and
Coming
that's,
from a holiday and going to a meeting.
yeah, and that's kind of what the calendar looks like this year too, so, but I mean, if you don't wanna pass it, I will take it back and look at it
But if we're early enough.
again.
Yeah.
I mean, cause we run into this holidays, it's like, this year we had to cancel a meeting in July, so we had one meeting in July, we had one meeting in August, we're only having one meeting in September, so the work catches up with us because this September, Tuesday is Truth and Reconciliation, where we would have normally had the cow fall for this month, so it's never a perfect, I was trying to do scheduling for March, contemplating those that have children, that there might be a longer break in there versus the break of 4 days at Easter, whereas there's 2 weeks in March that are for spring break. So I mean, I did, it's not like I don't think about when I'm contemplating it, but this is like, where do you move it to? And I don't think you wanna come here back-to-back Tuesdays, and it also makes it very difficult for staff to do the work if we have them, but I will look at it again.
And the election's on the 17th of October, and then the inaugural council meeting's on the 3rd.
Yes, there's always
So there's yeah, okay, gotcha.
weird council meeting in there and it's a cow.
Yeah, gotcha.
Right. So I did put that on the calendar because I thought people would wanna know when that is, so. One last business day, there we've got October, we've got Thanksgiving, the week of the election, and then we have our last meeting, and then, yes, then there's rules around the inaugural meeting has to be within the first 10 days of the month of November. So I didn't think it was very fair to have it on the 10th with the potential that a new mayor may be having to go the very next day to speak at Remembrance Day. Or they could take a pass on speaking at Remembrance Day, but it's been historically something that the mayor has always done. So if nobody wants to pass that, then I'm like,
we look at that, can we look at that and just bring it back in October or whenever?
so somebody can move
Or could
referral.
we just amend the one in April, the AKBLG one, and everything else is the same? Like, could I
Well,
just
the
suggest an
the issue
amendment?
with that is just take a look at the calendar, is what happens is that May, then you've now got a
To move
meeting
a few things.
to, like, a week apart,
Okay.
right? Like, we don't back the meetings up one week on top of the other. The other thing is you
You
could,
move April, you move May, and you move the 1st of June, all 1 week, and then the June ones are now 2 apart instead of 3 apart. Cause you're already starting to create a gap in June.
yeah, which I tried to do last year to give staff time for vacations and planning and,
Okay, I think it sounds better that you've heard the feedback and,
Yeah.
go,
okay, well,
Bring it
then
back to
refer
us.
it,
I move referral.
okay,
That's what you're
thank
looking
you.
for.
It's been referred. Can I have a seconder? All in favor of referral? Okay,
Thanks for bringing it forward early though.
So we're just we'll get that back again.
yeah, that'll come back. I mean, like, this is the whole idea of looking at it now. I mean, historically, it's usually come in like December and everybody's not paying any attention. It says, okay, and
When you have
I'll just leave it till
time.
December and bring back the same one again. I know how to work the
Let it
crowd.
notice.
Nobody will notice. This will be like, oh, pass.
Thanks for all your work on that.
Yeah. So, okay. And then we are on to fire dispatch contract. So staff have identified the regional district of Fraser Fort George as the preferred provider for outsourcing fire dispatch services for the city. At the June 3rd regular meeting, council approved negotiations with the regional district of Fraser Fort George for fire dispatch services, and further to bring back the contract for the service for council approval. So who?
Move.
Yeah, moved by councillor Woodward, and then can I have a seconder, and then if there's any questions, the CAO can address them. Seconded by councillor Tate. Okay, so we're moving,
So I'll read it?
Yeah.
The council passes the following resolution. That council approve the contract with the regional district of Fraser Fort George pending legal review for the provision of fire dispatch
So
services.
we've done legal review, so we can remove that.
Okay, so it would be the council approve the contract with the regional district of Fraser Fort George
for the
for the
provision.
for the provision of fire dispatch services.
Okay, so that's been moved and seconded. Anybody have any questions for the CAO?
Yeah, we've talked about this with the fire master plan through the chair. Did you wanna just give us a reminder, a brief overview of?
Yeah, I think, this came up actually prior to the fire master plan where I think the Chief Hebert reported the unsustainability of the amount of overtime that our firefighters were being required to incur because anytime we had a call out, we had to call somebody back into the hall to man the dispatch service. And then with NG 911, we would need someone manning the fire dispatch 24/7, 365, and that would require 5 to 6 new firefighters just for that part of the service. And with technology of today, it makes sense to use a third party. In this case, with Fraser Fort George, they're not having to add any additional staff to accommodate Nelson, so ourselves and the other current partners all benefit from the economies of scale. So this was we went out to RFP and looked at the other potential dispatch providers. This was the best value, plus the RDCK already uses Fraser Fort George for their dispatch, so it made sense that we would, if the pricing was similar, in this case, it's preferable that we would go with the same provider. The amount, their budget is fixed for the next, for the 3 years. It's likely 3 years, we're probably not gonna actually transition into that until either very late in 2025, but or early 2026, so really for those 3 years. Their contract is fixed, it includes renewal of their technology, et cetera, so we think this will provide additional so-called boots on the ground and in a positive service at a much affordable cost.
Good.
Councillor Payne?
So I just wanna go over the numbers a little bit because I want to, when I look at this, I think I figured it out, but I don't know if it's clear if someone from the public is reading it. I'm not sure what page it is, page 2, financial terms. So the 2.94 million total annual service, that's the cost of Nelson,
Full,
District of Fraser Fort George.
yeah, that's how much it costs to provide.
Right, okay, so that's the part that I think maybe there could be some clarity, just so anyone reading this, will they understand that?
Yeah.
Annual operating contributions, Nelson share based on
In the
approximately total.
actual contract, yeah.
In the, not in the contract, in the so that if I were a member of the public reading this, it would be harder for me to put 2 and 2 together. That 2.94 million, maybe they're smarter than I am.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, help me,
So, but the projected cost is 180, so that's the guesstimate of that 2.94?
that's for us.
That's our
Yeah.
share of the
That's
2.9
our
million.
share.
That's
of
our
it.
share of the 2.94.
So I get that part, it's further down as well though, so when
Yeah.
I looked at this first time, I'm like, whoa. And then the one-time implementation fee is the 230,000, but we get 190 in grants for that.
Yeah.
So that's gonna be approximately 40,000 for us to implement. And then does it say anywhere Nelson also pays the CAD RMS licensing, what
Yeah.
that is?
Yeah, so if you look at the paragraph above, up to 30,000 per year ongoing technology support.
That's what that is, okay. So the ongoing technology support is the same as the CAD RMS licensing?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I mean, some of those things are really clear if you know what you're reading, but I try and look at things from, somebody from the public who's not as, and that was, so then the other thing I just wanted to bring up, so I did get the staff overtime hours so that we could, and that was shared out with everybody, so we can see that it's obviously a cost savings to us compared to what we've been spending to get the level of service that we need.
I should note that you'll probably never get overtime to 0, right? There's always gonna be a base level there, but yes.
I don't think we're gonna save the entire amount, but when you look at these numbers, it's a pretty easy equation to understand that there are going to be savings to us. Sorry, and then that is based, so that $180,000 is based on the number of events per year. So if we reduce the number of events per year, we reduce that amount.
Yeah, that's correct. Well,
So-
and it's relative to, like
Yeah,
if everybody reduced,
went down, then yeah.
then
Then the cost per event would go up because they have a certain budgeted amount as their baseline.
Yeah.
Okay, so then that always brings me to service levels, which I think is one of the important things that we need to be looking at during our budgeting period. Because as the mayor has mentioned many times, the provincial and federal government downloading services on us. I think this is an example of that when we're responding to all of the medical calls as well as the fire calls. And that's the other number that I'd be interested in seeing as we're going into the budget period is what is the breakdown of, do we have that information or?
yeah, the chief would
Okay, that's what I assume we have it, but
Yeah.
I think that is something that would be worth looking at as we move forward. I think it's just a conversation that we need to have around service levels and what we can afford
Yeah.
as a
So-
city and what the residents
Yeah.
of the city can afford, as we know so many other things are getting so much more expensive.
So right now, I think for 2025, we're projecting about 1,400 calls versus 1,700. So we do anticipate this is the high end of our dispatch costs, so we're hoping that will be under that. But we can, there's, probably the dispatch part of the call out is probably the less expensive part of, it's the staffing levels that you have to manage that call out is probably the really where the
So if
real-
we go down to 1,400, then it's gonna be more expensive per incident. So at
No.
1,700, it's 105 per incident.
Well, it depends.
Okay.
Right, so yes, we would, we would go down, we would pay less than 180, that lesser amount, but it ultimately depends on the pool as a whole, like, other areas could be growing, so we
Yeah,
could remain
I
the same
think-
and our dispatch costs would go down.
Yeah, in general, I think it's a great way to go, but I think it's just, we wanna be really clear when we're asked to be to be more transparent, how this is a solid benefit, not just another item on people's tax bill.
The other thing that probably doesn't get picked up when we just talk about overtime costs is, there's vacations that they can't take or training that they, have to delay or things like that they can't fit into their schedule, like piles up and there's just, the exhaustion on
The mental health
mental health
effects
and that sort of
on
thing,
our
so those are
employees.
more intangible, but
100% agree. So yeah, thanks. Incalculable.
Any other questions on that? Okay, this has been moved and seconded. All those in favor? And that carries, thank you. Moving on to item number 11, we have reports, we have finance, development services, and the late item addition of the accounts payable, which you've all received by email during the dinner break. Is there anything there that anybody wants to pull out, or does somebody want to move all the items 1, 2, and 3 for information? Councillor Woodward,
Move.
all 3?
I'll move all 3.
Okay, is there a seconder? Councillor Page. Any concerns or anything? Okay, seeing none. All those in favor of receiving the information? And that carries. Thank you, councillors. There was no late items, no notice of motions. And therefore, can I have a resolution to adjourn? Thank you.
Go camera.
And then we have to go ahead, go on camera that. So
We don't have to,
somewhere
but it's
I
on.
have, where's my little thing that it says? I don't have my note. Here's my little note. It says,
It's not there.
I'm not there. That we're going into camera. I do not know what the. Sorry. This is what happens when I work off all the paperwork.
That it is the opinion of council that the public interest requires that persons other than members of council and staff and any other audiences be excluded from this meeting, and that the meeting of the council continue under section 91, give me a letter, regarding something that falls under section 91. E. The
Thank you.
acquisition, disposition, or expropriation of land or improvements if the council considers that disclosure could reasonably be expected to harm the interests of the municipality.
Thank you. When it's not in front of me on a piece of paper,
And where possible, there's a few in-camera item updates I've been planning to give them.
okay, that's fine. We'll see where we
Okay.
get to, but we'll start with,
So we'll just make sure we off
Okay.
the stream.
so
No, not yet.
that's been
So we gotta move to go in
moved
camera.
to go in camera? Can I,
Yeah.
so that,
So can I move to go in camera?
yes.
Yes.
And seconder, please? Okay, second by Councillor Lockenberg. All those in favor? And that carries. So
I will just get this off here.
we'll just make sure that we're off. Just while we're waiting for that, did a few people get to have a little gander at the in-camera